Gosh, Beatty, that means, ladies and gentlemen, we're live. Welcome. Welcome along to the stream for Trending. For those of you who are going to be viewing this video in the near future.
In the near future, my dear.
Yeah, I was going to say in the near past, but, well, I suppose it's all a matter of perspective, isn't it? There's people standing at the door looking in at us too. How odd. Gosh, you think you're safe in radio, don't you? Secure away from the world, and then strange people come peering in at the window. You feel like a zoo exhibit.
Bit ironic as we stream the show as a literal window on many screens right now.
I think that is true. I'm not saying it's not somewhat hypocritical, but nevertheless, it's how I feel. And really, isn't it all about how we feel in 2025? Have you adjusted to it being 2025 yet, by the way? I find I still have to kind of mentally adjust when I'm saying what year it is.
What, you think it's still...
2024. I still want to write 2024 every now and then, want to say 2024.
No, I think it feels like 2025. I mean, what's the difference?
A year?
Well, that's true, yeah.
Accuracy, I
Accuracy.
suppose, is a big thing.
That's not a really big thing, though, on
wait
Trending, is it?
until-
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, look, welcome along, everybody. This is quite the show. I mean, gosh, where to even begin? We have cultural events. We have technological developments. We have the coming of age of iconic personalities. We've got the USA, and we really need to come up with some. I mean, look, I'm sure we're not giving anything away to say we need to kind of like Trump theme for news that features the blessed man himself. Is that a good way to refer to him? If we just call him the blessed man from now on, and people will know who we mean.
The blessed one?
The blessed one. Yep.
There is an artist on...
That. Well, then we can't. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we can't call him blessed one. That's true. But no, the Don, of course, is in the headlines. And if we have time, as a early primer for you, we might even get to dire wolves. Apparently, that's a big thing right now, is dire wolves. So make of that what you will. Anything else, Josh, you want to update us on around the world today?
No.
Buttons are working.
I mean, yeah, I brought in the wrong laptop, so that's not... well, I didn't actually bring in the wrong laptop. I didn't bring in my laptop. And
right,
so,
which is in fact the correct laptop. Therefore, any other laptop becomes the wrong laptop.
And so the hero that he is, you've probably heard him mentioned on Trending before. Sorry, I'm also looking at my screen.
That's right. Do you think?
Owen has come through last minute.
Oh, what a guy.
I mean, he is a hero to all.
Oh,
but I'm just getting used to... It's just a little different, you know?
Would that work?
We don't like change.
Would that work if we were to do some kind of a section on either of our shows, Breakfast or Rima Afternoons in particular, about
Life
the
FM Afternoons,
unspoken, whatever, the unspoken MVP?
Oh, yeah.
In your world? Because I feel like every workplace has got this guy or girl who is just, if it all hits the fan, you can go and see and it'll be okay. So for us,
Owen.
For us, that's Owen. I just hope that you have an Owen in your life because my life is better because of Owen and Jesus, but also Owen. So, those two things. We should be live now. Oh, nice typo. Instead of we should be live, I said we should be loved now. Isn't that nice?
Gross.
Gross. Ooh, girls. Ooh. Ooh. Talking to somebody today about, how you learn how to make relationships work and joking about how you could read about relationships all day long, but until you actually ask out the girl, you know nothing.
Oh.
Right? Like some things can't be practiced for.
Until
you're in the trenches, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, man, where are we going to end up today if this is our preamble? This is the pre-show for Trending, everybody. It is a news and current affairs show. And the content has been provided by you, whether you know it or not. So what were you and your friends searching for over the last week? You're about to be revealed.
I went non-collared today, by the way.
Yes, you did. But it's a nice jumper, though.
Thank you. I think it's still pretty smart.
Yeah, I do have one similar. So, should we twin this stuff in future? Or is it?
This is the weird thing, because we could twin more than just this jumper. We have a few outfits that line up.
That's true.
Our blue jacket.
That's right.
We both have.
We've got the Rima jumper.
We both have the Rima jumper.
We've got Life FM promo jumpers as well.
Of course.
What else we got?
I mean, have you got a nice pair of slacks and a white collared shirt?
For the sake of this show, I think the state of my pants makes no difference.
That's a fair point. That is a fair point.
You do have that blue kind of floral shirt, and I do have a blue floral-ish shirt as well.
That's like my TV shirt.
Yeah.
It is quite commonly.
Yeah, when in doubt.
yeah.
I brought in an extra shirt today. My challenge today, and you know what? If you can remember to message me this on the show, you will be my favorite. I brought in a second shirt today, and they said bring in 2 shirts. I brought in, that shirt, kept it hung up behind the door in Michael Brown's old office, who's was our head of TV.
Head of operations.
Yeah, and it's still there now. Will I leave and remember to bring that shirt with me today after the show? That is the challenge.
I'm guessing not.
Yeah,
but
right?
I'm guessing, therefore, it becomes your emergency shirt that lives at work.
Yeah, but I don't want to have a work shirt. Like, I
don't
just want
wanna-
to have shirts,
But you might spill your coffee, You're up early for the breakfast show.
I suppose. Yeah. Can I say, I'll tell you one thing. I noticed the other day, because we get dressed in the dark.
Oh, yeah.
I realize just the other day, I wore inside-out undies all day. Functionally not affected, but it's just the principle of the thing.
Which is oddly, this is the pre-show, so it's
Yeah.
not as focused. But you know what, Andrew?
Yeah.
Weirdly, that connects with our first story of the day.
It does connect with our first story of the day. Have you worked in radio before? That is a fantastic segue. Well done. Gosh, look at you.
What a tease as well. What on earth could we be talking about?
That connects with the
Inside
potential
out
for
undies.
Inside out undies, indeed. Wow. Yep, that's true. Would you? Well, no. I want to ask you questions about this, but it is best saved. One does want to keep one's powder dry, as it were, for the live segment with everybody else, because one of the pet peeves for everybody in radio, just so you know this as you watch us in the pre-show, is that all the best radio never goes to air. So the times when you're talking about a topic and you're just freestyling effectively, the comments that come out of that, incredible. I think one of the only exceptions to that rule happened last week with one of my favorite guests joining us on the show to talk about whether or not you want your child to be hot.
Yes.
Made a
Your
reference.
wife.
Yep, made a reference to it aging like Bitcoin.
Oh,
that was
man.
completely out of the blue, and 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100 call, absolutely spectacular. Completely unplanned. So other than that, though, many a great joke has been wasted on an audience of one or two.
Because what happens is you then go, that's funny. Try recreate that
Yep.
on air.
Yep. Can't do it.
And maybe it comes across as like, it's just never as good.
Yeah, you're happy because you don't know. You just don't know. You don't know how good it was.
Yeah.
And you think, wow, that was funny. It's like, it was all right.
Trust us, it could have been funnier.
It was fine. It was funnier, but you weren't there. But you are here for this, so we got about 30 seconds until the weather from Mr. Urquhart is completed. So with that said, we're going to switch us over, get ready to go live. What a time we shall have. Thanks for joining us.
A few people watching via the stream,
Hey,
though.
yo!
Don't forget to leave a comment below.
I'm like an overexcited child seeing their parents in the audience at a school play. There they are. Somebody's actually come. Look, we got about 20 seconds away. So when you hear us next, the rest of the country shall join us.
Live on air and online. Trending with Andrew Curtis.
Aotearoa, welcome to Trending. This is the show that you made, so you better like it because, well, it's your recipe. We're talking about news and current affairs, though. If it's your first time joining us on the radio or via the live streams, hi to my welcome. We're going to take a look at what's been happening around the world and also more focused particularly in New Zealand, which admittedly is included within the world, to see what stories people have been searching for more information about. That is the broader gist of the show. And I have found it really enlightening over the last few weeks, starting to notice even some of the trends that emerge on our major news services. So when you go to somewhere like CNN, somewhere like stuff.co.nz, somewhere like the BBC, the Associated Press, what are you likely to find? What stories do people find the most interesting? I find it interesting to uncover information just like that. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through the news stories that were the most popular on those news services, and of course the ones that were revealed by Google search trends. What do people go looking for more information about? It's one thing to see what leads your nightly news, but what are you curious to find out more about? You do not need to wonder. If you stick around, you will find answers to those questions, and someone who's going to help me find them is Joshua Beatty.
Good to be here once again. Good to have you watching or listening. And don't forget, your feedback is greatly appreciated because that's the whole point of the show. It is about what is trending, what you, New Zealand, have been looking for, or even people watching abroad. Wherever you're watching from, leave a comment below if you are in the stream, or of course text on through 8168 keyword life. Rima. Almost had it flawless.
It was an amazing intro. I want to, recognizing it for what it was, let's celebrate everything that you got right in that, because human nature, Josh, is we fixate on the one thing that didn't go well.
That's true.
Everything else was immaculate.
Yeah.
Just want to say, proud of you.
Do I make excuses for the fact that I'm on a different station and we go into that yada yada? Should we just move on?
See, this is where you learn that adding more information doesn't help. You know, it just muddies the water even further.
Moving on!
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
Let's take a look at our first story. And does this need some kind of parental content warning?
Yeah, potentially.
Potentially, depending on how you feel about Robert Irwin. Now, he was the number 12 ranking search term in this country over the last week. Now, why would Robert Irwin be trending? Let's just say it all has connections to Bonds, the Australian underwear company. And so this is an underwear-specific story.
It is. It does involve underwear. If you're watching on the stream, we're going to see underwear. If you're just listening, I guess you are spared from that.
That is true. So we'll see how well this communicates the message across the radio. But as Josh has said, if you are watching on the stream, then you'll get the full experience of why Robert Irwin was trending, because he's working with Bonds.
How is it Australians are so laid back? It's simple. They're all wearing comfy undies.
Can I just say what a great little tune that is at the end? I would want that just in my own radio show. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-ba.
Imagine that as you enter a room.
That would be so good. Or when you leave.
Andrew's here. Andrew's gone.
Oh, hang on a minute. Let's try this again. All right. Josh Beatty, thanks for coming along for trending today. That is great. That is really, really good. Not the point of why they made the ads at all, and in fact, why they invested in Robert Irwin. But still, we look to extract even further gold from a country so devoted to mining already. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. Robert Irwin doing an ad for Bonds, and it has traumatized some people.
Yeah, look, he's a much beloved celebrity. Has taken up the mantle from his late father.
Yep, good old
And
Steve.
we've watched him for a while as a young man, teenager, and so there is some innocence, I think, applied to Mr. Robert Irwin. He is now getting older.
In a lot of people's minds, he's still 12 years old.
Correct.
Or maybe even 8. Like, as is often the way with celebrity children, you don't really make peace with the fact that they're growing up. It's like when you find out that somebody you knew from 20 years ago is now having kids. You're like, but you're 5.
Yeah, like your niece or some cousin or something like that. You've always envisioned them as that age, but they actually, lo and behold, are getting older.
And so are you.
No.
Keep that in mind.
No.
Memento
not
mori,
me, though.
everybody.
Not me.
So yes, he is now at 21 years old, one of the faces of Bonds underwear. And if you were not able to view that ad that we just played, it's Rob Irwin sitting in one of those throwaway plastic lawn chairs with a croc sitting in front of him with an open maw.
He's got a snake over his shoulders as well.
That's also part of the appeal. There are jokes to be made that we're not making on this show, but there you have it. Number 12, though. Number 12. Should that be ranking so highly, do you think? I mean, it's not a matter of should. It is. So in some ways, deal with it. It's the fault of the combined people of New Zealand searching for Robert Irwin.
Although, what would you respond to those who say it shouldn't be trending because, who cares? Like,
Well, look, I would say reiterate what I just did. It's actually fascinating when you consider the stuff that you think should or shouldn't. It kind of doesn't matter because it just means that it's not in alignment with what you are interested in.
It's a bit of that Rorschach test as we talk about.
Yeah, well, look, should people be interested in buying McDonald's burgers? I don't think so. They sell billions whether I approve or otherwise. And so will this make a big difference? I feel like you have to be Australian to really care about this. So there might be a little bit of bleed, shall we say, from Australia over to New Zealand. Otherwise, I don't feel like we have a very strong connection with Robert Irwin. Or is it Bindi? Is his sister?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Not as well known, but I think he is quite predominant online. He's certainly taken over an online presence. And I think even worldwide, he's much beloved just for he really reflects his father.
That is true. But he is in great shape. I can acknowledge that. He's looking good. There is, as I say, though, a problem when you're trying to relate to a New Zealand audience, which leads us to our opening question of the day. Who amongst us would be the better candidate to replace Rob Irwin in New Zealand? Should it be me or should it be Josh?
You. It's
8168. No, put it to the people. I said before, it's not about what we think, Josh. It's about what the people choose. And ultimately, they are the best judges.
I think the only chance I have is if my wife texts through multiple times.
Let's see if she does. Christy, it's all on you, babe. 8168 with the first word Rima, or via the chat this morning, if Bonds were to look for a New Zealand ambassador, should it be me or should it be Josh Beatty? I know where my vote's going.
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
He did not see that one coming.
No, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
Anyway, let's move now to The Guardian. And this one, for people who say that the internet is just a whole bunch of clickbait and excrement, well, you're kind of correct, because the number one story, the most read story on The Guardian, interestingly, though, a departure from what has been the most popular over the last few weeks. They've been really keen on US news in the last few weeks. A lot of stories about Donald Trump and other countries in the world, but this time around, Swedish eco-retreats.
Now, we are going to get to Donald Trump, don't you worry. It would be...
How could we not?
Oh, man, it would be baffling if a trending episode happened without the Don's appearance. But again, these are the trending stories across the globe. Here for The Guardian, this is the number one clicked on story. I haven't had much time to unpack this, Andrew, so would you mind? What on earth is happening?
Well, what on earth is happening, Josh, is that people are texting through and saying, definitely Josh. Definitely Josh. Josh looks more like Rob Irwin. Do you agree? I'm happy to get behind this, everybody. The New Zealand ambassador for Bonds Underwear. So get your votes in. Also put it in the chat. In the meantime, this, I think, is just so peculiar, and again, such a captivating headline, that how could you not click on it? It says on The Guardian, couple who ran Swedish eco-retreat fled, leaving behind barrels of human waste.
I'm sorry?
What a great headline. Did at any point you know where that was going?
No. No, I did not.
So Fleming Hansen and Mette Helbeck, now in Guatemala. I mean, they've fled to Guatemala. They're so good. Racked up a large tax debt in the Stedsans Forest retreat, and they left behind, guess, with your friend who's with you right now, how many barrels of human waste did they leave behind? Pick a number. Josh, come on.
Are these like what a typical wine barrel size?
You know what? That's a great question. Let's assume they are, for the sake of argument.
5?
158. 158. The irony being they said that they founded their eco-friendly retreat after claiming to have felt the call of the wild. And perhaps they wanted to then retain that call. They had 16 wooden cottages looking out onto nature. And it seems as though these cottages were not sufficiently plumbed, shall we say. And so this story, though, it's probably enough information on this one, really, isn't it? The number one, the most read story on The Guardian. And these two are now excrement fugitives? I don't know. What would you... Crimes against nature, perhaps?
Do you think Guatemala will flush them out or not?
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
And remember to keep your votes coming through to Josh or me for Bonds representative in New Zealand. Moving to our next story. You think I'm going to let this drop? This is going to be a thread running through the entire show.
My wife has personally texted me and said how many times should I text on through. That's up to
At
you.
least
That's-
once more is always the answer to that question, Christy. The rest of you can also have your say on the text or in the chat, Josh.
If you want to text on through 8168 with the keyword Rima, or of course, if you are watching, and if you do want to watch, head to rima.co.nz. But if you are watching the stream, leave a comment below.
Now, this next story, it was number 18 in the country in the old Google searches. And I don't mind saying this one a little bit self-indulgent because Josh and I, for all of our high class and expensive tastes, are also degenerate gamers.
The show has really started in an interesting way today. Look, trending is an interesting show because it's based on the trending stories.
That's right.
And so we go where it leads. But
Correct.
We're going to have some more of that, I guess, high-class news coming soon. I just want to guarantee you that.
Look, the show is as classy as the people of the world. So again, if you get upset, go look in a mirror, point at yourself, and be like, do better.
Oh, Tracy's text on through.
Yes, Tracy! Josh for Bonds. Let's go, Aotearoa. Love your work. Keep him coming in today.
Oh, no.
Josh or me for Bonds Aotearoa representative. It's going to be a picture of Josh, in stubbies and a...
Superimposed onto
Yep.
somebody with actually...
Well, you can't be wearing stubbies now that I think about it if you're advertising the underwear.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I you don't really see, we talked about this off air, normal undie advertisements with just the person going, here they are.
that's true. Holding them next to you. Be like, just imagine. Let your mind do the job.
Yep.
But then, is that better or worse? Only time will tell.
Don't know.
How many digressions can we fit into 18 minutes? At least 5. Let's move to another vote for Josh that's come in this morning. He could take on a croc in his underwear, no doubt. Couldn't agree more. This story is a tech story. So we're going to change the subject for all of 2 minutes, but keep those votes coming in. We'll tally up again in just a moment. Gaming related and the Nintendo Switch 2. Have you been looking forward to the launch of said gaming platform, Josh?
No, you know I'm more of a PC gamer than a console gamer.
PC Master Race.
I know that the Switch is it's quite highly sought after. A lot of people really love it. They're finally coming out with a second iteration.
What is it for those who are not familiar at all with
It's a
this
gaming
device?
console that particularly its whole appeal is it's you can take it on the go.
Yeah. It's kind of a handheld thing. That's really the
Very
big deal.
reminiscent of a Game Boy
I was going to say,
or
yeah. It's the heir apparent to the Game Boy.
yeah.
Let's take a look then at why it may well have been trending in this country. Number 18, which means it's very likely somebody in your family will want one of these for a birthday or make you save money up till Christmas this year. This one comes to us courtesy of IGN, the gaming news channel, which of course gamers knew about the moment I said IGN, and the rest of you are like, huh? What? Is this a big deal? It sprung up overnight? You'd be surprised. Here we go.
Why is Mario Kart World so expensive? That's the main question a lot of people are asking, and which IGN posed to Nintendo's.
Were you asking that question? Why is it? How many people? Everybody's asking that
We're
question.
all asking. We want to
Everybody
know.
wants to know. All right, let's go back to this.
VP of Product and Player Experience, Bill Trinan. And the long and short of it from Bill himself is that Nintendo looks at the amount of value each game provides, how robust it is, and applies price points accordingly. Now, his words exactly.
In other words, it's really popular, so we can charge you as much as you like. Suck it up.
Quote, our general approach is really just focus on what's the content, what's the value, and what's an appropriate price based on that. He went on to say, quote, but honestly, this is a game that is so big and so vast, and you will find so many little things in it to discover. And there's still some other secrets remaining that I think as people end up buying and playing the game, they're going to find this to be probably the richest Mario Kart experience they've ever had.
Sure they will. The bigger picture here is that in the US, a baseline video game price is about $60 US. It's been that way for a while now, and cost of living crisis bites in all sorts of different ways. You know, inflation, tariffs as well, maybe. This has led to Mario Kart World on the Switch 2, exclusive to the Switch 2, by the way, $80 now. That is, for those of you who love math, a 33.33% increase on the previous price. And of course, the people, they will not stand it.
Well, it's akin to other much more high-performing, larger games like Baldur's Gate.
Yep.
One What else could we maybe mention?
Oh,
God of
gosh.
War.
What's been, that's true. I'm trying to think what else has been big in the Tekken
Yeah.
8, if you're a fighting game fan. But as you say, this is more of I want to say a simpler kind of game. It doesn't seem to be as complex.
It's a party game.
Thus to justify price being that high. So, yeah, people are upset about it. Why is it costing so much money? And a lot of people saying they're just going to go to other platforms now. But then again, if you do have a person in your life who would quite love getting involved in Mario Kart, just brace yourself, because what's that going to translate into in New Zealand? $80 US, it's probably about 140, 150 bucks.
At least.
Yeah, painful stuff, painful hobby. Then again, Josh, if you factor in how much it would cost to go to the movies, even once a week, which is only about an hour or two of your time.
When was the last time you went to the movies, though?
Yep.
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
Now, before we move on to our next story,
Yes, please.
Gabby's got in touch. I want to mention Gabby's text for the second part, not so much the first part. But
Okay.
look,
All right, fine.
Josh for sure.
I mean, of course.
Also, the Guatemalan fugitives could be said that they have committed crimes against humanity.
Gabby, don't take this the wrong way, but I love you. And I am so proud of the community we're starting to build on this show.
I did a
Crimes-
proper snort, too.
That was a proper snort. That got a full 10 snorts out of 10 from our Josh Beatty. The votes, of course, if you've only just tuned in, we started the show with a story about Rob.
Irwin.
Thank you. And he's now become the face of Bond's underwear in Australia. That's not going to fly in New Zealand, of course. We don't care that much about Rob. So we thought, what if it was between me and Josh? I got to say, 100%. 100% all Josh Beatty, and I am not sad about it. I respect all my friends today. The best part is we genuinely had not discussed this before the show started.
No,
so all
we
of
have
this
not.
is a continual revelation for Josh as we march through the headlines that were the most popular in the country and, in fact, around the world. So hard pivot into the number 2 story on the Associated Press. Now, this is fascinating because there's been a lot of change in the US. That's probably one of the biggest understatements you could make right now. Everyone's focused on the economics, which, yes, spoiler alert, we are going to get to a little bit later on in the show today. But the deportation of illegal migrants has also been a huge point of contention. And when you are deporting the number of people that the Trump administration are looking to deport, rightly or wrongly, you are going to make a few errors along the way. And so there's been a couple of stories that have started to emerge of people who were deported to El Salvador that are both not illegal immigrants nor from El Salvador. So you imagine what it would be like if you are, say, from Venezuela and you get deported to a different country and are told that, well, this is where you live now and you've got no real right of return. We've got some challenges to overcome, and that is the reason why the number 2 story on the Associated Press website is about Chief Justice Roberts pausing a deadline for the return of a Maryland man mistakenly deported to El Salvador.
I mean, just put yourself in his shoes. Just how frightened, how baffled you would be. It's a scary thought for sure.
Yeah, and so looking at this article now on the Associated Press that, again, you can read along with us if you're on the live stream. Otherwise, allow me to do the duties for you. Chief Justice John Roberts agreed Monday to pause a midnight deadline for the Trump administration to return a Maryland man mistakenly deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador. The temporary order comes hours after a after a Justice Department emergency appeal to the Supreme Court, arguing that the U.S. District Judge Paula Zinnes overstepped her authority when she ordered Kilma Abrego Garcia returned to the United States. The administration has conceded that he should not have been sent to El Salvador because an immigration judge found he likely would face persecution by local gangs, but he's no longer in U.S. custody and the government has no way to get him back, according to the administration. So again, imagine deporting somebody. And these El Salvadorian prisons, by the way, if you're not familiar with them, Josh, do you know much about what these things are like?
I know they have a reputation of being just bad.
They are brutal. People are kind of divided over the El Salvadorian president because he came down with a zero tolerance on gangs to the point where if you had a gang tattoo, you just got thrown in prison. Like, that was just the way it was. Because, again, a lot of these gangs, part of joining the gang is getting the tattoo. So if you have the tattoo, you're a part of the gang. It's just the way it is. These jet gangs are like tens of thousands of people. All of them gang members of some of the most violent gangs in the world. And now to have illegal immigrants, or quote unquote, this is me doing air quotes for everyone just listening, illegal immigrants thrown in there that are neither illegal nor immigrants, and then being told, whoops, we deported you, but nothing we can do. Boy, is our face red. I'm so embarrassed. You'll have to stay there, though. Amazing.
I mean, baffling, as well as the excuse making of, oh, look, we made the mistake, but there's nothing we can do about it now. This is human life that is potentially being ruined, and it's I was going to say unheard of, but unfortunately that is totally incorrect, is it not?
Well, you're absolutely correct too. So I don't want to sound like I'm carrying water for this administration either in this respect, but when you are deporting a lot of people, if I'm being very pragmatic here, you are going to make mistakes. And the wrong people are going to get caught up in this thing every now and then. That sounds very callous. It is kind of just the way it is. But you must have some form of recourse. Surely, if you are deporting people who are not illegal migrants to the wrong countries and then saying you've got no means of getting them back, unbelievable. Now, the problem, of course, you have is that the broader topic of illegal migration is such a touch point in the US that those who are supportive of these measures would be like, oh, well, less inclined to try and redress the balance on this sort of thing. Even if they are found to be mistreating some of these people, I don't know if it's really going to erode Trump's support base. That might come courtesy of the consequences of another policy choice that he's made in the last little while, but you'll have to stick around to find out what that is. Can you guess?
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
Something that's more likely to put a bit of a smile on your face, though, and this is the number 9 trending story from within New Zealand. The return of an absolute icon. Polyfest is back, or at least was back. And so Polyfest 2025, your number 9 trending news story in the country over the last week.
Yes, celebrating 50 years of Polyfest, and it has grown to this mammoth event. I had the opportunity over on Life FM to chat with the coordinator herself, Terry, and just the heart behind the platform Polyfest is, and also the spiritual aspect that is involved for a lot of the Pacifica community. It's even interwoven into Polyfest itself. Life FM was very happy to be on the ground broadcasting from Polyfest, even though it was a torrential downpour on Friday. But tell
me more about that. Tell me more about that spiritual component of this too, because I think it's something that's really worth celebrating.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's exactly what I was about to say, Andrew, is it is worth celebrating in that regards, because we know through the Pacifica community that spirituality, particularly the Christian faith, is just interwoven. Yeah. And that bleeds through when cultural performances like these happen on this grand stage, not just for traditionally, Samoan, Tongan, etc., but they even have opened up more stages. They had, I believe, a Japanese performance and stuff like that. It's growing beyond Polyfest to be this amazing event. It's the biggest even in the Southern Hemisphere, I believe.
Cool.
Other countries come from all around. They watch and go, how do we do it like you? I think Polyfest here in Aotearoa is something to be incredibly proud of.
So, look, there's many, many stories on this front that you can find online. There's one in particular that we tracked down, which is really cool, on the Radio New Zealand website that talked about a performer in 1976 and how they have now become a mentor in 2025 as well. So, I mean, that's everything you want to see as well, right? In terms of people taking a lead within their own cultures, learning and then growing older and then passing that on to the next generation as well. So super heartwarming. If you were there, I would love to know what your experience was like.
Yeah, get in touch. 8168 keyword Rima if you're listening. That's the text, of course. Or if you are watching, if you'd like to watch, rima.co.nz. Just follow the social links. But if you are watching, leave a comment below.
Live on air and online. Trending with Andrew Curtis.
The other thing, of course, you can message through about is if Bonds were to get a New Zealand model, should it be me or should it be Josh Beattie? 100% in favour of Josh Beattie at this point.
We're still carrying. This is a whole show.
Did you honestly think I was going to let this drop? Did you really? How long have we known each other? I mean, that's really your own fault at this point.
I was trying.
You've got to take a bit of responsibility.
I thought we started maybe in the mire and we're kind of ascending out.
No, you see, I think you're thinking of yourself too lowly to consider yourself the Maya, Josh. You are. This is what peak performance looks like, everybody. This is peak masculinity 2025.
We did win our netball game last night.
See, called it. How athletic is that? And maybe the shoot could be you at a mixed, netball game. You and your bonds passing the ball around. No,
Nobody
shooting
Nobody
other
on my
people?
team or the opposition wants that.
Fine. Let's move on to the number 3 story in New Zealand. Very concerning for parents, in fact, and again, another kind of hard pivot, but it is what it is. Now, this one was on stuff.co.nz, and, we talked very much at the start of the show about how certain news platforms, there's a trend within a trend of the stories that can be the most popular. So The Guardian in the UK seems to love US news. Well, stuff.co.nz often leans more heavily into the human interest elements, though they tend to be of a, dare I say, lighter note, Josh?
No, that's fair.
Yeah, so this time around, though, the number 3 story on stuff.co.nz, he cried for help. Mum upset after 11-year-old is robbed at Auckland's busiest mall.
I mean, even more concerning as we head into the school holidays, just to hear headlines like this, to be honest.
I genuinely would like to know from parents as well how you feel about this, if it will affect how you, how you treat your kids over this period of time. So the backstory here is that a mother has said that bystanders watched as her son was held by his neck, robbed and thrown to the ground in one of Auckland's busiest shopping malls. Now, he's only 11 years old. He was walking inside St. Luke's Mall on Saturday afternoon, March 29th, when 3 teens attacked them, robbed them of their shoes and a watch. As they were walking along the top level, this is the mother saying, they're going to be picked up by her husband. One boy grabbed my son from behind around the throat in a headlock. Once they robbed the boys of their shoes and a watch, they were told to take the shoes off. And then my son said, help, help, but nobody stopped. And the boys said, if you yell out one more time, I'm going to punch you in the head. It goes on like this. So, of course, now the boy very heavily shaken. It's difficult for the police to follow up. And in fact, this is the part where perhaps you may become even more upset. They went to the Auckland Central Police Station, and the mother said, my husband and the boys waited over an hour at the police station to give their statement. Then a sergeant rang my husband saying they're too busy to take the boy's statement, and it wasn't taken until 2 days later. It's now been more than a week and a half, and we haven't heard anything from the police.
Do you think, Andrew, that that's negligence on the police force's behalf, or that is just the reality of being a police officer currently in our day and age, that they are so overwhelmed?
Sure.
That the sad reality is that's the truth, and it was not choice, it wasn't.
Yeah, capability. It's entirely possible. I think from those who I've known who work in the police, they are absolutely pulled all sorts of different directions. We actually had a headline earlier on today too that one of the things that's been added to police responsibilities is responding to mental health call-outs, which is just not a thing you're trained to deal with. Like somebody who is in genuine mental distress to the point of perhaps being suicidal or something like that, to add that to the list of things police has to respond to. It's slowly being reverted now that they're going to be diverting those calls in another direction, but they have a lot of things to do. For all that, though, it doesn't really help you. Does it make you feel any better if your child has been mugged at a shopping mall? And what are you then to say? Well, the police can't do anything about it, but they got good reason. Doesn't make you feel any better, does it?
No, it doesn't. And I mean, I also even come back to the moment itself, hearing the lack of intervention by anybody else. It breaks my heart for sure. I want to provide solutions. I feel like we suddenly find ourselves in this position where, like, how do we fix this? And we're not going to be able to do that in this 1 hour we call the show of trending, even, the minutes we have to give to the next story and move on. But, I mean, I'm getting choked up. It's really sad.
Yeah, it is really sad. I think one thing that stands to mind, I'd love to hear from parents on this front as well, how to have a conversation with your children about the fact that you live in a world that is mostly safe. And I still maintain that even in light of the story. It is mostly safe. Most of us will never experience this in our lives, but you might experience something different. You might be very fortunate and never have this kind of problem in your life, but you do live in a world where this kind of thing can happen. How do you respond? How do you respond? We like to tell our kids that we will make them perfectly safe. The tough reality for any of us is realizing that nobody can make the world perfectly safe. It's like if you've run an early childhood center and you've got little kids running around. How do you make them perfectly safe? Can't do it. How do you run a primary school where the kids can't hurt themselves? Can't do it. How do you create a society where no one ever harms anyone? Hate to say it, kids, can't do it. But we are still called to go out and love this hurting, broken world full of angry people. I mean, look, the kind of person who mugs an 11-year-old is not doing well themselves. Now, that doesn't excuse them, but it does remind us that that's the nature of the world that we live in. So how do you respond? How do you have this conversation? If it's your 11-year-old, what would you say to them? I genuinely would love to hear anybody who wants to put something in the chat right now or send us a text. It might take you a few moments to kind of compose this, so we'll come back to it if you're able to send us through the message, and we'll give it the time that it deserves a little bit later on in the show. But what would you say to them?
We'll say Tracy's got in touch with a very straightforward, simple, but quite poignant text. I always used to tell my kids to be mindful, not fearful.
Interesting. So what does that mean, do you think?
I suppose the idea, and I thought the same thing, is that you want to be clear and honest with your children. And then the worry that I had, again, I'm not yet a parent, you in the same boat, is not creating this mentality of you have to fear every moment that you encounter as you go out.
Yeah.
But to be mindful. Certainly, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly with Tracy. How that works in practice is a little bit more nuanced.
Yeah, well, as I said, like this kind of an event, not to minimize how difficult it would have been for that 11-year-old, but it's a 1 in 100,000
if not
event,
more,
if not more, where this specific thing happens. But if you look at a broader context and different communities where these things are more or less likely to happen, you've still got to live in that world. And so I love that thought, wrestling with it, because on the one hand, you can become so fearful you never go outside again. And that can happen. Like,
I mean, that sounds
in order to
dramatic, but
yeah, in order to protect your child, you say, be careful out there. It's very, very dangerous. And so what does that mean? You're hyper-vigilant. In some ways, it's almost like a symptom of PTSD. Threats everywhere. People out there could harm you. This person could be out to get you. That's not true. But to say to somebody, hey, you'll be fine. Everything's okay. Nobody's going to... Well, that's also not true. I've thought before, too, that on a surface level, a courageous and a naive person could look exactly the same.
Depending on what situation you're in.
Well, to be in a situation, for example, heading along to the mall where one person believes, well, nobody's going to harm me and I'm going to be completely fine. The other one's like, well, you know, I've just got to have courage and face the world. They're both putting themselves in the mall, both there with their friends, both maybe enjoying themselves. But one of them is there because they have chosen to, or maybe not chosen, but been instructed to not be aware of the potential risks that are out there. Others saying, no, there can be risks, but it's still worth living my life and being courageous. And again, we've not been given a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. Again, over to you guys. Would love to know your thoughts on this one, based on a story that was the number 3 on stuff.co.nz, a tragic story of an 11-year-old who was mugged at a St. Luke's mall. But what comes to mind when you hear discussions on this topic today and letting our kids know about the risks and dangers that are out there in the world? Why don't you get in touch and share them with us?
8168 keyword Rima, or if you're watching either via YouTube or via Facebook, leave a comment below.
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
If you're trying to find those feeds, by the way, just head along to the Rima website. We've got our social media links there, and you can click through and discover what we're about to talk to now. Parents will already be aware of this as well. Are we near school holidays at the moment?
We're getting very near, school holidays.
Very
I've
near.
also noticed a couple more comments on the Facebook page. Another hard pivot out of that conversation we were having. We're very near because, yes, Easter is approaching and the school holidays and Easter often align. Jonathan has said, how about a duo collab for Bonds, Andrew and Josh?
Ooh.
And your lovely wife has said Andrew and Josh duo. So even when she votes for you, she's voting
still
for me
voting.
too.
Look, I live in your shadow. It is
Don't.
my cross to bear in life.
No.
This story, though, number 4 trending in New Zealand, coupled with the number 3 trending story, both entertainment related, but I'll start with the one that I'm less interested in, and that is the Minecraft movie. Now, I might not be that interested in it, but my goodness, is the world absolutely rabid for it. Apparently, theaters are being forced to take action on this. We found a story right now about this Minecraft movie. This comes courtesy of Gizmodo.com. $163 million opening weekend for a Minecraft movie. And to look at some of the stills from this, to be completely honest, I'm shocked because these are truly horrifying.
Yeah, and that's the gimmick that has been built up. I mean, that is the real-life version of a well-known character from the actual game. And this is what has also happened is meme culture has created this phenomena of those who enjoy Minecraft going to the movie and having over-the-top reactions, hooting and hollering and cheering and standing up in the theaters, which is disrupting other people's movie-going experience.
And it's not just that. People have also been cranking out their phones and recording the screens to take part in some kind of meme-based culture, as the kids do these days. So now they even have added security and screening or monitoring of the screenings of the Minecraft movie because so many people are jumping up and down and recording elements of it. $163 million, though, for the opening weekend. Hollywood kind of needs a win right now because so many big budget shows have absolutely tanked.
Yeah, the interesting feedback is it's awful.
Right.
It's not ranked or reviewed very highly.
Yeah.
But it continues to make money. I mean, is it just simply a kids' movie?
Well, this
Is this the
where I think you do need to accept the movie for what it is, because there are plenty of movies that are rated poorly that also do very poorly. So if we think about some of the movies that have launched lately, Snow White probably being one of the biggest ones.
Yep.
That one was reviewed poorly and has also absolutely died a death at cinemas. Whereas the Minecraft movie, maybe it's kind of like accepting that if you buy a Big Mac, it is not the same as going to a Michelin star restaurant. And so it is silly to review them by the same criteria.
I think also the Minecraft movie knows what it is and knows the audience that it's targeting.
Yeah.
And so while looking from the outside in, and again, if you maybe bring up that picture that you showed earlier, if you're watching on the stream,
Here we
it
go.
almost feels like it should come with a bit of a trigger warning because it's not fun.
That is terrifying to look at. It is a picture of, well, what even is that, Josh?
I wish I could remember and tell you, but like I said, it's a beloved character from within the game that
the
has,
chicken jockey.
Yeah.
The chicken jockey
I
is the
think he
name that's
has
on
a
the caption
name.
here. Maybe
Yeah.
it does. If you're a Minecraft
aficionado.
Great word. Maybe let us know. But yeah, that's fair enough. Like when a movie doesn't have delusions of grandeur, shall we say. This is not winning an Oscar.
No,
This is not getting a Best Actor nod. It might get a Best Special Effects, perhaps, which is kind of like it's Best Special Effects, hot take right now, is the Oscar they give to movies that people like, but they're too lowbrow for the Oscars to lower itself to
Don't have
acknowledge
enough
formally.
Oscar bait.
Yeah, well, it's more just like, well, the people liked it, so you can have the special effects. It's like saying, again, best burger and fries restaurant. You're like, oh, sure, well, the commoners like it, but of course, I shouldn't deign to darken the door with my presence, so you can have the best burger and fries award. This is the burger and fries award for movies. It's basically what it is. Best burger and fries.
Which is not from McDonald's, according to Andrew.
Now, I usually don't like to play trailers for films on the show because it doesn't really communicate a lot to those who are only able to listen out. I do have to make an exception on this one because we need to give you a wider snapshot of what you might be looking at because it contrasts with the number 3 trending story, and it is an opportunity to be a bit of a movie snob. But I will show you this, and then I will show you what we've prepared for our number 3 trending slot today.
And Dennis, we've got your text. It's come through. It is a long one, talking about the story we mentioned previously about how parents talk to their kids after the
Fantastic.
mugging. We will get to that in just a moment.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dennis. All right, let's take a look now. If you are on the stream, if you want to jump on the stream, head to the Rima website right now. Go to rima.co.nz. You'll see the social media links for either YouTube or Facebook. Here is a scene. I probably won't play all of this because, let's be honest, from the Minecraft movie. Ooh, big cinematic score.
Here it is! Midport Village!
Whoa, 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 whoa. Who are these guys?
Oh, these dudes? They're the villagers! They're total pacifists and vegetarians. You don't bug them, they won't bug you. They just like to chill, trade, and eat buttloads of bread. They love crushing a loaf.
So they built all this?
Yeah, most of it. But the good stuff you see, that's all Steve. Anything you can dream about here, you can make. Zero limits. Relax, it's just an iron golem, local security force. But they're a bunch of big softies.
So that is Jack Black walking around with Jason Momoa in perhaps his least appealing screen persona ever.
I mean, yes, less intimidating than ever before as well. Jason Momoa known as this, gargantuan man, being superheroes,
Yep.
being, giants.
Super
and,
jacked and all this stuff.
What is it? What's that very
Aquaman?
famous? No, the TV show.
Oh, Game of Thrones.
Yeah. He's like scary guy. Not scary.
Not scary in this one. So,
Big jacket.
So, again, that was a little bit of the Minecraft movie. You may be dragged along to see it, whether you want to or not. Fair parents of Aotearoa. However, if you had your choice, perhaps you would rather see something that was the number 3 trending search term in the country over the last week. Now, that sadly was Val Kilmer. And I say sadly because, the man is a screen icon, but he passed away this week. He's been battling ill health for a while. His most recent and, in fact, final screen appearance was in the Top Gun Maverick movie, where he was actually unable to speak for the majority of his appearance. So they actually went to great lengths to make his character able to communicate with Tom Cruise in that film. There's a whole backstory to that as well. But no, Val passed away. And so, of course, many people also reflecting on what was an incredible film career.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when we think of Val Kilmer, we do think of Top Gun, but both you and I think of another well-known movie starring Val Kilmer himself, even though he wasn't the main character by any means.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, well, he
was the main character.
The movie, absolutely. We're, of course, talking about Tombstone.
Oh, quotable. Chef's kiss. So to contrast with the Minecraft movie, and to give you some extent of how impactful this is, this will work for you even if you're just listening out. But I'm going to play a clip from Tombstone right now that just captures why Doc Holliday was probably Val Kilmer's best ever role and should have won him an Oscar.
Well, Ed Bailey, you look like you're just about ready to burst.
Come on, show.
Well, I suppose I'm deranged, but I guess I'll just have to call. Cover your ears, darling. Isn't that a daisy?
Well, you son of a bitch. Hey, Billy, just settle down. Shut up. Take your money and get out, because I'm tired of listening to your mouth.
Why, Ed Bailey. We cross?
Them guns don't scare me. But without them guns, you ain't nothing but a skinny lunger.
Ed, what an ugly thing to say. Our poor ugliness. Does this mean we're not friends anymore? You know, Ed, if I thought you weren't my friend, I just don't think I could bear it.
Andrew, I think you're getting lost
There.
now in the enjoyment.
Now we can be friends again.
There we go.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were waiting for that
I was
one.
waiting for there. Now we can be friends. So, of course, it's a standoff over a poker table and having drawn his guns on his opponent, perhaps. Puts him back on the table and said, there, Now we can be friends. Where to start, Josh? Where to start on that? Or just the whole Doc Holliday performance.
Yeah.
I wish I was that cool. I can only aspire.
Yeah, certainly fun to reminisce and go back and watch what is a great movie, and maybe you want to do the same, but also due to the fact that, there is a lot of people going to Google, and this is a reason it's a trending story, sad about the passing of Val Kilmer.
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
Let's go to that message that came through, shall we?
Okay, so this from Dennis. He says 2 things. The sad reality of people not getting involved. The sad reality is that people in Germany near where ultimately millions of Jews were tricked. Where ultimately millions of Jews were trained into being killed. None wanted to rock the boat and do something. One 11-year-old boy being ignored is the same thing. I see police with radars sitting on safe areas of roads where people are likely to exceed 50 and 60 limits rather than on more busy parts where there would be more danger. I think being assaulted and robbed is much more important, Dennis.
Yeah, maybe we are not allocating our police resources effectively. I think many people are concerned about that as well. Now, that message was a response to a story that was the number 3 on stuff.co.nz, a story about an 11-year-old being robbed at St. Luke's Mall in Auckland. And so, again, thank you very much, Dennis, for getting in touch, sharing your thoughts today. That's what it's all about.
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
Let's then dive into a story that was number 1, number 8, number 11. Depends where you looked, but all around the world, Trump tariffs and Trump tariff adjacent stories were all incredibly popular. Popular is probably the wrong word. People weren't exactly thrilled to see them.
Sought after. No, again. They went to Google and they searched about them.
They really did. And so this has been fascinating. We used the term very briefly earlier on, which maybe we'll repack for those of you, or unpack again. The point is this. For those of you who've only been watching for a little while, we often talk about a Rorschach test.
Correct.
On the show. And the idea being like with an ink blot test. You know, the old psychology tests, I'd take an ink blot, they'd show it to you and say, hey, what do you see here? The idea being, of course, that, well, it doesn't really show anything. It's really just a projection of the person's mind. It tells you about what they see, not necessarily what's objectively on the page. And if there's ever been a story that is difficult to perceive the true nature of, then this is one of those stories. Depending on your political allegiances, maybe some of your priors here, you might consider this just another example of Trump hubris out of control, or you might see it as the art of the deal. Donald Trump making stuff happen for America, trying to rebalance the books, and of course, put America first. What do you reckon, Josh?
I reckon it's absurd. I reckon if you read The Art of the Deal, you go to the chapter where he talks about his casino that he put up in, where is it? What's the place that's really known
Las
for
Vegas?
No, what's the other
Nevada?
one?
Atlantic City.
Atlantic City. You know what?
Why do I know all the casino places in America? That's another question.
Well, they're in all the movies. You know what happened to that casino in Atlantic City?
Did it go bankrupt?
It got demolished.
Ooh.
It fell down.
Right.
I mean, it was purposely brought down, but... Yeah, how's that casino going, Donald?
Yeah, not too well. But here's the thing. In business, you win some, you lose some, don't you? Right? Easier to accept if it's your own money, but if it's the entire country's money, people may be less enthusiastic.
Yep. Look, I don't know where to begin. How much is this affecting us here in New Zealand?
Right. Well, look, I said this is number 1. So that is true for like CNN, Al Jazeera, all with leading stories on Trump tariffs and what's going on there. But in New Zealand, S&P 500, which is, of course, is the top 500 performing companies in the US stock market, that was your number 8 story. And then even the NZX, the New Zealand Stock Exchange, was number 11. So a lot of people watching their money and seeing how these tariffs will affect things like their KiwiSavers, their retirement funds in the US. They're talking about things like your 401ks, which are often index funds based on a broad bucket of high-performing shares in the US. All of them, biggest 2-day fall in US market history. Now, what do we make of all this? Well, before we inject too many more of our thoughts, why don't we take a look at this quickly from Al Jazeera?
The Bund on the banks of the Huangpu River in Shanghai. A century ago, this was the epicenter of China's foreign trade. Today, its export strength is based a little further inland, in the factories of Zhejiang. In a factory like this, the export market is everything. 70% of everything produced here goes straight out of the country. But when Donald Trump was elected last year, they knew tariffs were on the horizon. And this year, they haven't had a single order from the United States. Exporters are now looking for alternative markets. Although not as lucrative, they may be more reliable in the short term.
I want to expand into the European market and customers. In September this year, I will go to Kenya to develop the African market. I will also go to Indonesia because the Southeast Asian market is very important to us.
So it's interesting to see an article from Al Jazeera focusing on the Chinese perspective on American tariffs. Again, what world we live in, right? So from a global perspective, this shift in American foreign policy has created a degree of instability. People are unsure as to what these tariffs will be, how long they will be, and this wasn't helped by the fact that these tariffs seem to have been calculated off the cuff by a simple formula of what is the trade surplus or deficit with that country, therefore your tariff rate is this, as opposed to, as it was presented, a reciprocal tariff reflecting what other countries already charge the US. So a lot of different perspectives on this one. Now, one story that's also started to gain attention, and this one's on CNN, was that billionaires are turning on Trump. And even there was an article that started to circulate today from Elon Musk's perspective, blaming a major Trump advisor behind these tariffs for, well, basically being an unintelligent person. That's the family-friendly version of this, at least from Elon's perspective. What makes, again, this challenging from my perspective here is that I can absolutely accept that tariffs may be a negotiating tactic. How do you force somebody to the table? Well, one way to even the playing field is to shut them off entirely from your market. And Trump himself has said that he's basically had phone calls from every world leader trying to renegotiate where things are at. So from that perspective, strong negotiating tactic, that sounds fine. The thing that undermines it somewhat is the way that this has been implemented also suggests there's a large amount of, let's just try this. For example, Switzerland has 0 tariffs on US goods. They were hit with a more than 30% tariff, which is greater than the European Union and the UK, who do have tariffs on American imports. So what is going on? Is it just, again, an amateur's guide to rebalancing the global finance books? This is what we're looking at right now.
I mean, we saw the tariffs imposed on the McDonald Islands as well.
Yeah.
Where not a single living person resides.
Well, you know, those penguins, man, can't be trusted.
I saw, and gosh, we live in the age of AI, right?
Yeah.
An AI video of the penguins arriving at the White House to negotiate because, of course, they're wearing their tuxedos.
I saw another one of somebody creating an AI version of Americans in a Chinese-style industrial park.
Oh, yes, because...
So, you know, just doing... I mean, you saw in that clip, if you were watching alongside there from Al Jazeera, what some of these kind of factories look like. It's rows upon rows of people just manually doing the same thing over and over for like 60 hours a week at a minimum. Can you really imagine Americans doing those jobs?
Well,
I
that
don't
was
think
actually
so.
the argument of some of those advocates for Donald Trump, is that those jobs are going to be brought here, to the US. And then there was this weird understanding, or idea, I should say, that it would be automated and then that the mechanics of America would be servicing the robots that automate the process.
A lot to talk about with this. So, guys, we're going to stick around for a few more minutes because we've run out of time for today. My goodness, did it not skip by? Look, thank you, everybody, for your thoughts and comments on all sorts of stories that we covered today. Can confirm with an overwhelming majority of the votes that Josh Beatty will be the new Bonds ambassador. Look forward to his presence on a billboard near you sometime soon.
Oh, no.
That is our lot, though. If you do want to join us, though, for the stream, head along to rema.co.nz, click through to YouTube or Facebook. We'll continue for a while, but for the rest of you, thanks again for joining us on Trending. I'll be back again next Wednesday with my able-bodied and able-undied sidekick. Alrighty. There we go. Into the news. So for the rest of us who stick around, I do actually want to talk a little bit more about this Trump tariff thing for a little while. So you're saying that they're trying to now present this change as being one that's going to still bring industry back to the US, but our people will be doing the high-end servicing jobs, not the low-end.
And I wish I could remember who said it and quote them.
Yep.
But the argument was that the jobs would be automated, unlike, as we saw in the clip there in China, with people just doing the finicky jobs as they required.
I love a finicky job.
But then the mechanics that, are just all across America, certainly in Detroit, I imagine, because they love a good
Panickety
mechanic would be servicing the robots that would automate the process of putting the little screws into phones.
It would be more believable if you had any confidence they'd thought of this before it all happened.
Well, the other thing that blew my mind is you talked about that these tariffs are going to be used or are being used as a great negotiation tool.
Yep.
A lot of the other experts are saying, no room for negotiation. We're not negotiating. There's no negotiations. This is how it is. Donald Trump has come through and he's stamped down. This is the letter of the law. And then he himself, Donald Trump, said recently, these are a great tool for negotiation. It's just there is a lack of cohesion and consistency.
I'll say one thing that helps you follow Donald Trump. And if you are a fan of his, this may annoy you, but I'm just going to share what my take has been, is you don't take anything he says seriously. He can say one thing. Best example of this, President Zelensky from the Ukraine, you're a dictator, you're a dictator, you're a dictator. Next couple of days, I can't believe I said that. Next few days, I'm really annoyed at Vladimir Putin for calling Zelensky a dictator. That all came from the same guy in the space of like a week and a half. So he is not beyond throwing stuff out there just to see how people respond. It does work. It does work, but it's maddening for a lot of other people that are trying to find a more consistent means of understanding what's happening. The reason why people in the business community are saying this is a bad thing is that unpredictability is bad for business. So anybody looking to plan their business wants to have a sense of where things are going to be at 1 year, 2 year, 5 years into the future. Those who have made entreaties to Donald Trump about shifting manufacturing back to New Zealand, back to the US, even though those who've said that they're keen to do it or find a way to incorporate more Americans in manufacturing, have said this takes at least 2 or 3 years. Like if all your factories are in Vietnam or China or some other developing part of the world, Malaysia, for example, to rebuild that factory in the US, much more difficult, much more expensive, and will take a lot of time. So in the meantime, does that mean your company eats a 10, 20, 30, 40% cost of manufacturing its own products? Because, of course, when it ships from Vietnam or China into the US, even to be finished, they're still going to be bearing the brunt of that tariff.
What about this? Amazon warehouses is a text that came through.
Yep.
Hope this person still is watching. Amazon warehouses in the US already have workers doing 60 hours and robots working alongside them, but the robots are making a lot of mistakes and causing injuries to the workers.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, look, this is what's going to be happening in China as well. The challenge within the US has always been the degree to which automation is eating people's jobs, especially at this end of the economy. What do you do with those lower skilled wage earners? I don't know, man. It seems
Does
like
the bottom
a bad
not
idea.
just fall out? And then we
look. The one thing I'll say
reap
is
the rewards, shall we say?
Yeah, the one thing I'll say that is hard to capture and people consistently under allocate for is human resourcefulness is only ever discovered in the moment. And what I mean by that is this. If I said to you today, listening along to our stream and watching with us as well, you're going to lose your job tomorrow, how will you respond? Your industry is no longer going to exist. How are you going to respond? Your instinct, as you imagine what the world will be ahead of you, is, well, I'm stuffed. That's it. Game over. I don't know what I can do. I can't do anything. And you just, thought paralysis. The truth of human nature, as has been revealed multiple times in many individuals' lives or across a cultural group, is that when those things happen, You find a way. Now, you don't know what that way looks like right now because these things don't reveal themselves to you until the thing has actually happened. So if you got a redundancy notice tomorrow, I promise you, you wouldn't be like, well, I trained in radio, no longer radio exists, therefore I just can't work for the rest of my life. I'm stuck at home for the next 30, 40 years because I trained in radio and that industry is gone. I would find something else to do. Now, what that is, I don't know. Would I enjoy it as much as this? Also, I don't know, but I wouldn't be absolutely frozen in time and written off for the rest of eternity. So this is true as well in these circumstances. But we just don't know what that will look like. And as you say, Josh, too, it creates a greater degree of social unrest when this kind of stuff happens. And I think that's what a lot of people are concerned about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also, it makes sense that you talk about in business, I guess in the economy, the stability or the feeling of stability is actually a big underpinning factor.
Yeah.
And that uncertainty leading to the downward trend in the stock markets, etc., does make a lot of sense. The ideology is behind Trump's team is this will, it's got to have a crashing for it's the rising of the phoenix, I suppose.
Yeah, it's Liberation Day, baby.
Yeah,
it's Liberation Day. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think the bigger challenge that they're going to have to deal with, even if they remove all these tariffs tomorrow, is that people are going to be on edge for a long time. What happens when your primary trading partner suddenly becomes volatile and unpredictable? At the very least, while Donald Trump is in office. But potentially J.D. Vance runs after him. He's elected as well. He's seen as an extension of the same ethos. Well, now you've suddenly got 7 years of this kind of behavior. What if he wins a second term? 11 years. Well, what do you do? And even if he is then voted out, and a Democrat comes in for, say, 4 years or so of their own, you would be mindful, if you are the CEO of one of these companies that's been affected, okay, but when the reins are inevitably switch back to the other side, as they do, how's this going to affect us again? Does that mean we just minimize our dealings with the US? Or is the US such a rich source of wealth that it's worth it?
Well, maybe it won't be by that time if the trends continue as they are showing.
Yeah, possibly. Anything else stood out to you from today, though, besides you absolutely crushing it in the undie stakes today?
I just wondered if, as maybe like a special, it's a VIP experience for those still watching, if you wanted to talk about the dire wolves.
Oh, the dire wolves. Yeah, so this is something from today, by the way. Yeah, why not? Let's talk about that. This is something that gained a lot of popularity online. It's actually trending today. In fact, if I look right now, yesterday, more than 10,000 people looking for information about a dire wolf and whether or not they're back from extinction. So what is a dire wolf? Well, for those of you who've stuck around for the after hours part of trending, here's the BBC. This video has no sound. Well, that's
de-extinction to us is recreating these phenotypes. So a gray wolf is the closest living relative of a dire wolf. They're genetically really similar, 99.5% similar. And phenotypically, their morphology is also similar, only dire wolves are larger, more muscular, and have these light-colored coats and other things that we can see from the fossils. And so we targeted DNA sequence variants that we believe lead to those traits. And then we edited gray wolf cells to contain those dire wolf DNA variants. And then we cloned those cells and created our dire wolves.
Yes, they have slightly genetically modified wolves, maybe. And that's probably the best that you're going to get. And those slight modifications seem to have been derived from retrieved dire wolf material. Does that make it a dire wolf? No. Does it make a slightly modified gray wolf? Yes. And that's probably about it.
So it's not a dire wolf. When is a dire wolf not a dire wolf? Now that is a question.
Is it not adorable though? Look at that picture.
Oh, it'd be so cute if it ripped your face off and ate you and your whole family. Game of Thrones has a lot to answer for with this, by the way. Dire wolves were a big part of Game of Thrones plots. So I think that's kind of what. Amazing if you can tie your research funding to some kind of popular TV show.
Do you reckon that's what they did?
100%. 100%. if you said, can we recreate a dire wolf? All you need is one nerd who likes Game of Thrones on the approval committee to be like, yes! Take my money. Not take my money, take their money. Haha, universities.
Take the money.
It's taxpayer funded. So really it's take your money, but whatever. And do you feel better to know that there's dire wolves in the world now?
No,
Or
it just seems like a...
genetically altered grey wolves?
Well, yeah, is it not just Jurassic Park with wolves?
What is the best name for Jurassic Park with wolves in it?
A dire day.
Dire world?
Dire world?
Die another day? No.
Dire another day? The stakes are dire?
I mean, that's
the
byline.
tagline.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's look, in the minute or so we have left today, if you have a name for this dire wolf Jurassic Park, you can send it through to us. Otherwise, I mean, look, let's have a quick skip through again. I mean, gosh, we got so much mileage out of the Rob Irwin story. I think have we said enough on this one, Josh? Do you think?
I think we've covered it. Yeah.
Look, there was also
not much was covered in the
Badum-cha.
in the advertisement, but anyway.
The Guardian story was just weird. The
oh yeah,
the retreat, the forest resort, Nintendo Switch 2. Would you ever get one of these?
A Nintendo Switch?
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine I'd get it
how
as
I feel about it, to be
gift.
honest. Yeah. It'd be like, oh yeah, if I got one, I wouldn't be sad about it. But
no, and I might grow to love it, but I'm not going to go out and grab one for myself. I do. You talked about some parents probably, likely listening, imagining that their children are going to be soon, if not already, begging, pleading, doing all the chores that they can, all the best behavior that they can to get one of these, and they're not cheap.
No, they are not. But then what is these days? We quickly talked about deportations in the US and various, human rights travesties, to be completely honest. Polyfest, though, nice little domestic touch there.
Yeah, and a nice little reprieve of just stories that don't make you feel good, shall we say. That one did make us feel good.
That one did, and really appreciate everyone who sent through thoughts as well on the story we shared from St. Luke's Mall of an 11-year-old, two 11-year-olds, in fact, being assaulted while people looked on. And, how do you confront a world where that stuff is likely to happen? But really appreciate the thoughts that people sent through on that front as well. How would you train yourself to be the kind of person that intervenes? There was a moment, I haven't told anybody about this, but I was on the bus, I want to say a few weeks back, and I could hear this guy chirping away behind me. And he was kind of, I wouldn't say he's laying into, but he was certainly having a go at the Auckland Transport staff who were on the bus. And they were there, I think, just to observe stuff and, check the people had tickets and all this kind of thing. And the guy started giving him a hard time. And I was sitting there being like, what is this guy doing? And I thought in that time, I said, I should just turn around and have a word to this guy and be like, dude, what are you doing? He was having a go at the fact that they had I want to say patches on their clothing, Auckland Transport.
Emblems.
Yeah, and he was going on about how come you can wear a patch and I can't wear a patch and all this kind of thing. And I wanted to say to him, it's like, bro, do you really think you're going to solve your problems by picking on staff on a bus? But I didn't. And then afterwards, I had people say, oh, no, it's best that you didn't say anything because, you never know, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, but nah. I could have said something like, what are we going to do? It's like, well, if we say something, people might not like it. It's true, but what kind of a world does that create?
I worry if you had have intervened, would that have escalated the situation?
Well, I know how to intervene without escalating.
That is true.
I do know how to intervene while escalating as well. So both of those things I can do. But I'm pretty good in those circumstances.
That is a fair assessment.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's a toughie. Minecraft movie we talked about. Val Kilmer being an absolute ledge. Mate, what a loss. If you haven't watched Tombstone before, by the way.
That's your homework.
That is your homework.
Before the next episode of Trending.
Text through Tombstone to 8168 with the first word Rima if you're going to be doing that. We didn't get to the story about rainfall warnings, but there was a lot of that happening. And then, a bit of time talked about Trump tariffs. And that brings us till now. So, Josh, any final words?
I think pray.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. It can seem like a little bit of a lame, we tack it on at the end, but I don't mean it in that way. I genuinely think...
We should do that now.
Well, we can definitely do that.
We should do that now. Lord, we thank you that you have been a part of the show with us. You've been watching, you've been listening, and as we all wrestle with how to deal with stuff around the world that seems too big for us, we thank you that we can do this and that you are always looking for a reason to intervene on our behalf. Give us the wisdom to know how we can intervene. Lord, the wisdom to know those things that we need to give over to you and the courage to make those right choices in the right moments. So we finish on that note today. Help us to be your hands and feet in a world that so desperately needs that. So we ask for that in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. That's a better way to end, isn't it? Thanks, everybody, for joining us for the post-show. That's us for another week anyway. So always so good to have you stick around for a little while and chew the fat, as it were. We'll see you next week.